Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest Gruesome and Grotesque video. As always, I just do these videos randomly whenever I come across something I read online, or maybe even on my Google News app, something that I feel merits posting it here within this playlist, such is the case with this poor, unfortunate worker. Somebody who was working just as is at a landfill who ended up meeting a horrific fate. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that is just horrible to read. You almost wonder if this is truly absolutely real, but it is. This actually did happen just the other day there in Florida. In fact, you're looking at a representation, like a picture, a collage of it now. It showcases the poor worker, a guy by the name of Aaron Henderson, and here's what happened. Essentially, he ended up being crushed to death by a bulldozer while he was using a porta-potty there in a landfill. I mean, this is just stuff you almost have to see and read to believe. But so let's go ahead and let's share this information here, and then again feature just what a horrible, unfortunate luck when it comes to this overall just pure tragedy. So here's essentially what occurred. This was very recent too. This just barely happened this week. It has to do with this gentleman. You're looking at him now. His name was Aaron Henderson. He was 43 years old at the time. He was working as a traffic controller there at a landfill there in Central Florida. If you've never been to a landfill or is anywhere near it, you'll know that you're around it because they always have those elevated bankments. I mean, they look like really, really tall hills, almost like self-made hills. I used to actually live nearby a landfill, so I know the exact feeling, like, when you're driving around one, because pretty much what you'll see is a lot of empty land in most cases, and then all of a sudden you'll see these very, very large hills, and that's where these endless rows of garbage trucks will essentially be dumping this landfill. Well, a lot of that dumping happens to be with bulldozers. All those trucks come in, they dump the trash within the landfills themselves, just these gigantic areas of land, and then the bulldozers help move the trash over to certain spots. And it looks like that's what Aaron Henderson, who was his job, was. Like, he was someone that was actually helping coordinate this type of movement as a controller or traffic controller to make sure that there was nothing bad happening, no accidents. In other words, that's what makes this so tragedy, just so horrific, because he was doing something along those lines involving that type of job, and he ended up actually meeting his death just because of something related to it. So here's essentially what occurred. Inside those landfills, there are, of course, porta potties. There's going to be those areas to use those restrooms. And apparently he was in one of them, and another unidentified worker was in turn working one of those bulldozers. This bulldozer operator happened to be going by one of those very, very large embankments that I was mentioning earlier. In fact, it seemed like this was the last run for him because he was going to park it for the night. Made it seem like the shift was ending. It was time to put these machines up, and so that's essentially what he was doing. Unfortunately, this is how things get, like when it comes to the timing on this. Everything just unfortunately mismatched so perfectly, because here was this guy, Aaron Henderson, ended probably his shift there in the porta potty. Who knows if he had been there for a while? Nobody would have known if he was or wasn't, just because of the porta potty itself just being obviously completely covered to conceal what's on the inside. And then here you have this unidentified operator going up one of those embankments, which further causes the view to be skewed. So even if you go along the lines that they were just walking up the embankment, you would still have an angle where you're not going to be able to see things clearly, at least up to a certain point. But mix it in with him driving a slow bulldozer, but still a very dangerous vehicle altogether. And he happened to have the bulldozer's front blade elevated. It was elevated to the point where it was blocking his front view. I don't know why it was elevated. Maybe there was some trash in there. Maybe there wasn't. Somebody might have to fill me in on this. when it comes to those of you that happen to operate bulldozers. Whenever you're driving around, do you normally drive it around with the front blade elevated, even if it's empty? In other words, someone please fill me on that part. And so it was blocking his view, and then as he was turning towards the left-hand side, that's when all of a sudden he heard, according to reports later on, he heard a crumbling noise, and then he quickly realized he ran over something big, in other words. And then when that happened, he realized that it was a porta potty. And then, of course, once he immediately exited the bulldozer running towards it, obviously there must have been just things running in his mind like, please don't let someone in there, please don't be somebody in there. And it turns out there was. In fact, the police said that the operator immediately exited the bulldozer, ran towards the porta potty to see if anyone was inside of it. And then that's, of course, where Mr. Aaron Henderson was there, and he was pronounced dead at the scene. Pronounced dead at the scene tells to me that there was no chance. Like the way this thing ran over the actual porta potty itself, it must have been just horrible. Like it would have been a quick death, but still along the lines of realizing you're going to die inside of a porta potty because of this very, very tragic industrial accident, as the officials are calling it altogether. But yeah, that's essentially what happened. It was a perfect timing of all the wrong circumstances, everything involving the location, involving the porta potty itself, involving Mr. Aaron Henderson being in it, involving the truck or the bulldozer being placed for the night, the embankment angle, also the angle associated with that front blade, and then who knows what else could have played into it. But yeah, once that happened, then there was no chance, no hope. What a horrible way to go, right, for Mr. Aaron Henderson. Do you think that whenever you go on in life that there's going to be some situation where it'll be different, anything but this? But no, the poor guy, this poor traffic controller, ended up dying there within the porta potty, being crushed to death by the bulldozer itself at a landfill, no less. I mean, just horrible all around. And the poor guy, he did have a family. I'm reading stories now about the family coming out, and of course mentioning that they this is so horrific for them, and they obviously want an investigation being done. If there's any updated news associated with this, something that should be good to post on here, I'll definitely do a follow-up later on. But otherwise, the family is, of course, just saddened and then just angry about what occurred. And so they want to make sure the investigation is properly and deservedly done. So I believe the sheriff's office is also doing an investigation there. The Polk County Sheriff's Office is doing one there too, to see what occurred and what could have been prevented, who's going to be at fault, what else will happen in terms of punishment, and so on. But that's pretty much it. Horrible, horrible way to go. Rest in peace, Aaron Henderson. So if anybody has any more info on this story on a local level, maybe something you might have missed, then please post those comments below. What about those of you that happen to live near landfills? You know exactly what I'm talking about, right? Those giant hills that are out there almost in the middle of nowhere, and they have just endless streams of trucks, of these garbage trucks going to and from. The smell, of course, is another thing too. But if anybody has any more info on that on the local side, let me know. All right, everybody. Thanks again as always. Take care.